Hello, friends. Today we'll be discussing 3 very strange wilderness disappearances. Now, 2 of these cases remain unsolved, and one of these cases is a very remarkable story of a young man who survived for over 70 days lost in a forest. So sit back and relax, have a listen. This is going to be a wild one. First up, Stephen Van Pelt, the missing climber who vanished after he fell. Now, Mount Jefferson is the second tallest mountain in Oregon, and the only major volcanic center in the United States portion of the Cascade Range that hasn't erupted in the past 10,000 years. It stands at a majestic 10,495 feet tall and is part of the Cascade Range. According to climbing aficionados, the mountain's summit pinnacle requires Class 4 scrambling on very steep, usually ice-encrusted rock. It is considered by some to be the most difficult of the higher volcanoes. It is indeed a rough mountain to climb, and visitors are warned, mountain to climb indeed, and visitors are warned numerous times not to try and complete the summit unless they are very experienced climbers. In this community, we've seen many types of accidents happen, and mysteries begin in places like Mount Jefferson. Mother Nature can be a cruel mistress, and when there are no answers to seemingly obvious questions, it can be downright frustrating. Such is the mystery of what happened to Stephen Van Pelt. If a person falls off a mountain, it would make sense that they would be found right at the bottom, somewhere near at least, from where they fell. Yes, that would make sense. It would almost make too much sense for this community that deals in mysteries just like this all the time. Stephen Van Pelt seems to have fallen off the mountain and right off the face of the earth. Let's delve a little deeper into the mysterious fall and the equally mysterious vanishing of Stephen Van Pelt. On Friday, July 23, 2021, at around 11:45 in the morning, a 33-year-old Salem, Oregon resident named Stephen Van Pelt was descending Mount Jefferson when he suddenly fell off the mountain and disappeared from the view of his climbing partner. The Marion County Sheriff's Office received the initial report and responded along with Linn County deputies and the Linn County Search and Rescue Team. Officials reported that this particular area of the mountain where Stephen had his fall is extremely dangerous and would require technical mountaineers to travel the mountainside in their search efforts. Initially, it was reported that Stephen hadn't been found right away because of terrain which included snow and large boulders. There were also deep cliffs, crevices, rocks, and scree. Now, for this example, scree is defined as a mass of loose stones that form or cover a slope of a mountain. So basically, his recovery was going to take some time. The deputies called in several other agencies to assist him in the search for Stephen, and these included Corvallis Mountain Rescue, Eugene Mountain Rescue, Deschutes Mountain Rescue, and Portland Mountain Rescue. Stephen Van Pelt worked at Salem's Morning Star Community Church as a program director. After his fall from the mountain, his sister posted on social media that it is believed Stephen ended up in a ravine that is inaccessible. However, it's also been stated that Stephen was not seen in or around this ravine when it was looked over. The search was eventually suspended, and it was determined that Stephen would not be able to be recovered. He was never found. A statement written on behalf of his family said, "There is no more appropriate tombstone for Steve than Mount Jefferson." His wife, Caitlin, said that it's a huge comfort knowing her husband had come to rest in Mount Jefferson, and said he would have been thrilled to call this mountain his headstone. Obviously, Stephen Van Pelt loved the mountains and mountain climbing. His sister's social media post explains that he and his climbing partner had an incredible day together, and Steve was on cloud 9 after they summited the 10,495-foot pinnacle of Mount Jefferson. As they descended back down the mountain, Stephen's climbing partner watched him slip and fall hundreds of feet. From what Stephen's climbing partner later said, "We knew his end was immediate." Caitlin also stated how her husband loved the outdoors and how Mendocino County was a perfect place for an outdoorsman like Stephen. Before the search was officially called off, Linn County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Brandon Fountain explained that the conditions of the terrain was becoming a hazard to all the searchers. Lieutenant Fountain continued that there's a specific drainage on Mount Jefferson where searchers believe he may have come to rest. First responders conducted a significant search of this drainage, while rock and mud from above fell on the rescuers, who were bound together by rope. Stephen's sister posted, "My brother is, and always has been, a part of this mountain. He is, and always has been, a part of this rugged landscape. He is, and has always been, a part of this wilderness. Manicured grounds could never hold him." Now, the mystery here lies in the fact that, despite all of these agencies working tirelessly together and literally exhausting themselves in their effort to find Stephen, he has never been found. There were even multiple flyovers conducted by Life Flight, and the United States Army National Guard also joined in during the subsequent days of the search. Many people have begged the question, if Stephen fell from a specific place on the mountain, and someone watched him do it and pointed authorities to that exact spot, then why wasn't Stephen there at the bottom? Is he really there? These questions may never be answered. And while we respect the authorities and families' belief that Stephen has simply fallen into an area where it is impossible for him to be recovered, we have to wonder if he is actually there. As always, we hope someday the family is able to know for sure that Stephen is indeed resting at the bottom of his beloved mountain somewhere, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family and loved ones. Next up, Paola Miranda-Rosa. On December 31st, 2021, the search for missing 31-year-old Paola Miranda-Rosa resumed at Wekiva River in Wekiva Springs Park, an area north of Orlando, Florida. Sources say 2 hikers in the area took footage and photos of the missing woman on December 19th, 2021, which was the day after her family reported her missing. Her family positively identified her in the footage. The unnamed hikers said they observed the woman swimming in the river and took a couple of pictures because it was so unusual to see someone swimming there. Miranda-Rosa has been missing since then. Her family had reported her missing the day after they last saw her on Friday, December 17th, 2021, a day spent visiting with family and having lunch together. Paola was said to have been in good spirits and nothing appeared to be wrong. No one heard from her after she left the family home that day, and she was reported missing that Sunday. On Monday, her family made flyers to put up around the parks and businesses in the area surrounding it. She never used to go out and leave her dogs alone at her house. She left with the purpose of returning to her home. We do not know what happened that she did not return. She did not go back to her home, Yvonne Rose, Paola's mother, told Telemundo 31 in a phone interview. Ms. Rosa went on to say that her daughter's past mental health problems could have been a part of her getting confused and becoming lost. It remains unclear if it's a factor in her disappearance. She also stated that her daughter may need help finding her way back home. We immediately felt something was wrong. It's just not normal, Ms. Rosa continued in the Telemundo interview. Now, Paola has battled schizophrenia in the past and has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Foul play isn't suspected at this time, the Osceola County Sheriff's Department says. Prior to the official search, the Sheriff's Office released a statement saying they plan to search 4.5 miles of the river around the area where Paola was last seen using special underwater camera equipment that has the capability to see in hard-to-reach areas that can't be explored by standard scuba equipment. They planned on searching the wooded areas on both sides of the river as well. Just days later, they began a 3-day search. 150 law enforcement officers searched the park with scuba divers, boats, drones, volunteers, and bloodhounds. There were even volunteers on horseback, which helped pace the search. On December 21st, 2021, Paola's car was found at the park, along with her wallet, purse, phone, and other personal items, and the keys were in the unlocked car, which is yet another strange circumstance in Paola's disappearance. Her family spent the holiday season without Paola for the first time ever. Her sister, Andrea Miranda, told Fox News 35, "It's hard to even focus on the fact that it's the holiday season. I don't even know what day it is right now." We see Christmas lights all around us. We see that. But you're tunnel vision on the mission of finding her. Of course, it hurts this holiday. We want to have her with us, but we have to do what we have to do. Paola's father also gave the media an interview in which he stated, "We love you. We are waiting for you. Everyone. Family, your friends, and people who don't even know you. We are not giving up. We don't want anybody to give up. We want you to know that Paola was extremely loved. She loved us." Paola is described as 4 foot 10 inches tall and weighs 145 pounds. She has brown eyes and reddish-violet hair. She was wearing blue jean shorts and a white or green shirt at the time she was last seen. Some people have suggested that she may have been attacked by an alligator. State wildlife officials in Florida said attacks do happen but are rare. 6 years prior to Paola's disappearance, and in the same park, a woman was attacked by an alligator but survived. 2 other men have also been attacked in earlier years, but they survived as well. It was also reported that Paola was seen being pushed into a car, although this hasn't been verified, and the police haven't asked area businesses for video footage they may have. The family is asking that any business in that area with a camera to please turn over any footage from that day. The police and sheriff's office have asked anyone that may have information on Paola Miranda-Rosa's disappearance, or if you saw her after she was reported missing, to please not be afraid to share the information, even if it's wrong. Say that it turns out to be someone else. If you do have any information or tips, you're asked to please call the Osceola County Sheriff's Department at 407-348-2222 and reference Paola Miranda-Rosa. Her sister Andrea finished the interview with, "Paola, we love you and we want you home." Next up, Kevin Bear Henry. On February 7th, 2021, family and friends gathered to host a vigil for their friend and loved one that went missing in the wildlands of a Canadian mountain. They celebrated the amazing life accomplishments for their bear, believing they were gone forever. Lost for 74 days in the Canadian wilderness, 37-year-old Kevin Bear Henry screams for help went unheard. A Two-Spirit Indigenous person and environmental demonstrator, Henry was last seen by family members on November 27, 2021, before embarking upon a journey into the wilds of Fairy Creek, Vancouver Island, British Columbia. The weather took a turn and it started to rain. Further making the situation worse, it began to get dark. Henry, having thought they had driven too far, tried to backtrack, but it was too late. They weren't found until February 9th, 2022. Driving their van through the beautiful and lush woods, headed to an old-growth area of the forest to support a protest against logging, Henry was taking a mental note of how bad the road was getting. The ruts and potholes were starting to take a toll on the old van. As they proceeded down the dirt road, the van was listing from side to side. Every few feet, the road was becoming impassable until hitting one last big pothole caused the van's engine to completely quit. Eventually, Henry was able to get the engine started again, and only a little farther down the mountain road before becoming stuck in mud caused by the treacherous rain. Thankfully, they had a sleeper van and had at least shelter, but only had provisions for a few days because they had only planned on being there for 2 to 3 days. Tired from the day's events, Henry climbed in the sleeper and rested for the night. Henry had been paralyzed for 4 years in their 20s after being stabbed. This makes walking for any substantial length almost impossible, and they were taught to stay where they were should they become lost. The first few days were spent with the van, where Henry had food and shelter. They hadn't told anyone where they were going, but could hear helicopters overhead, presumably searching for them. "No one could hear me scream," Henry said. A massive search had been launched for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, community members, search and rescue teams, and even TikTokers had joined together in an effort to find the demonstrator. The family had reported them missing until December 11th, which was a full 2 weeks after Henry had become stuck on that road. They had also started a Facebook page dedicated to finding Bear called Bring Kevin Bear Henry Home. The page name has since been changed to Bear Has Returned. Because of the hostile environment that was created between demonstrators and the RCMP over logging, there was a delay in the search. Worsening weather conditions also hampered the search efforts. The few times they were able to search, There were a few clues found that pointed to Henry being in the area, but there was never anything found that succinctly pointed to where they may be. Surviving on anything they could get their hands on. Their diet consisted of tomatoes, dry rice soaked in water, tomato sauce, and beans. Henry even resorted to eating cat food at one point, and even snow in late December. As food supplies dwindled and days turned into weeks, Henry decided they would have to walk to help. Having walked for 15 hours over a 2-day span to the top of the road where the logging was happening, they finally stumbled into 2 loggers getting ready to leave the area. Loggers from Gemini Fallers saw Henry stumble onto their location. They were supposed to be leaving early that day and almost missed Henry standing in the area. "We thought you were a tree, man," one of the loggers told him. "Are you Bear?" the other man asked. "How do you know who I am?" Henry asked. "There are missing person posters of you everywhere in Lake Cowichan and Duncan," the men said to Bear. They didn't know what day or even month it was. "I've been missing for 3 months," Henry said to his rescuers. "Where would you like to go?" the men asked Henry where they could take them. "Tim Hortons," Henry replied, wanting a hot cup of coffee and some food. The loggers dropped Henry at a Tim Hortons in Lake Cowichan and gave them $20. "That kind of care and support to do that, that's humanity right there," Henry said of the men that rescued them. Bear contacted a friend and family members straight away. The family rushed to the Tim Hortons to make contact with them. Although a little skinnier, Bear was in good spirits. Henry would later be taken to an area hospital for an exam to make sure there were no lasting effects. "We understand there are questions on how and where the individual survived," a Royal Canadian Mounted Police spokesperson said. "If those details are released, it will have to come from Henry, as the family has asked for privacy at this time. They're just happy their loved one returned to them." There have been several updates and videos posted by Bear since their ordeal addressing people's questions and telling their story. In one of the videos, they are quoted as saying, "I'm too stubborn to die," when asked by a family member that was thinking the worst. Not having any experience with outdoor survival, Henry also said, "I definitely learned a lot more about the environment and how precious it is to be back there, to breathe that kind of fresh air, and to be at the mercy of that kind of weather, and to be at the mercy of the backcountry. It teaches you a lot." Well, friends, what did you think about these 3 stories? Remember, if you have any information on any of these, please contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. I look forward to your comments, but please keep it friendly and respectful. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you just a little farther on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time.